The Justice Department is preparing to issue a series of grand jury subpoenas as part of an investigation into former CIA Director John Bannon and the intelligence community's handling of Russia's effort to help Trump get elected in 2016, President Trump, as well as the Jack Smith special counsel case. There's a lot there. MSNBC was first to report this news. The investigation is being supervised by the U.S. Attorney in South Florida and also involves senior Justice Department staff from Washington.
My good friends Jason Redding Quinones got confirmed as the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of Florida and Miami. And I've been calling for a criminal probe for the last 3+ years since the Mar-a-Lago raid for a grand jury to investigate conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241 for these lawfare Democrats, how they politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement, going back 8 years to Crossfire Hurricane to take out Trump. His top aides like Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Jeff Clark, his supporters on January 6th. I've been very publicly calling for that on your show and 5,000 other media hits for the last 3 years. There's now a special grand jury that Jason just motioned the court in the Southern District of Florida to open in Fort Pierce. That's going to be impaneled in January. I think that sounds like a great place to open up this grand jury on Crossfire Hurricane.
So, Andrew, I mean, if you mix together Crossfire Hurricane, January 6th, the Russia attack on the U.S. election in 2016, and I don't know what else was in there, you don't end up with an indictment of a conspiracy. I mean, these are three totally separate, with predication that's all been investigated and corroborated and affirmed by some of Trump's current closest allies in his own cabinet, serving in national security functions. But what strikes me there is he describes having to do 3,000 hits to arrive at this moment where an actual prosecutor working for Donald Trump is presenting evidence to a grand jury. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
So let's leave aside that this may be a violation of the grand jury secrecy. Like, how he knows that there's a grand jury that's been impaneled is not something that I think is supposed to be given to somebody who's not in law enforcement, but leave that aside. So let's just take the three pieces. So the Robert Mueller investigation led to innumerable cases where people were convicted, either because they pled guilty or because they were found guilty by a jury. January 6th led to hundreds and hundreds of convictions, again, either because people pled guilty or because they were found guilty. And that's in front of judges who are appointed by Democrats and Republicans, including judges who are appointed by Donald Trump. And Mar-a-Lago, that was approved, the search was approved by a judge. There was ample evidence. Even Judge Cannon rejected a motion that this was somehow improper and vindictive. And so it's hard to see how this is going to get off the ground when you have that record of this isn't just the Biden administration or prosecutors saying it, but you have juries and judges blessing each step of this.
The Viceroy, the great Benny Johnson, Viceroy, had you on his show. You laid out the case as you've done so many times. And today, some reality's hitting. Brennan's indicted. MSNBC has finally awakened to the fact that you've been preaching this gospel for a while, and you saw Nicole Wallace. Well, hold it. You've got Crossfire Hurricane. You have 2020 election. You got J6. That's all separate events. And of course, Weissman, who's had 9,000 hits on MSNBC alone, he's got taking umbrage with your media strategy there. Viceroy, what do you got for us on this?
Well, if they think this is such a ludicrous legal theory, then they have nothing to worry about. Like Andrew Weissman, who I would argue helped participate in this criminal conspiracy.
Amen. Amen.
Then they have nothing to worry about with any investigation of this. Why are they scared of accountability here if they've done nothing wrong or if it's a ludicrous legal theory? I think they know what they did was the biggest scandal in American history when they made up the Russian collusion hoax. They lied to the FISA court. They illegally spied on presidential candidate Donald Trump. They spied on President Donald Trump when they failed to use the Russian collusion hoax to stop him from winning in 2016. They tried to destroy his presidency. They impeached him twice. They rigged and stole the election in 2020. They chased him out of office. And then when he was about to reveal Crossfire Hurricane as part of a civil lawsuit in the Southern District of Florida, a civil lawsuit from which Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart had recused because of his 2017 Facebook post trashing Trump, then Jay Bratz and the Biden Justice Department went to that same magistrate judge 6 weeks later and did the Mar-a-Lago raid to get back these Crossfire Hurricane records, and it led to the lawfare. They know what they did was the biggest scandal in American history. They know that they're going to be held accountable for that, and I think they're starting to panic. And I think Andrew Weissman should lawyer up, because he may not be the smartest guy to be out there talking about this case when he could be the target of the grand jury.
He was comms director for this whole thing. His hands in all of this. Okay, as are executives and producers at MSNBC. Lawyer up. Why is the Bannon thing today, the subpoena? Why is this such a big deal, sir?
Well, let me just say this before we go to Brennan. Let's just talk about Nicole Wallace. I actually worked with her in the Bush 43 White House, and she might be the dumbest human being I've ever interacted with in politics. I mean, she's like,
stop picking on my Nicole. I love Nicole Wallace at 4:00. We watch it every day. Why are you picking on her?
I hope that Nicole Wallace becomes the spokesperson for the resistance for the next 4 years, because she has an IQ of about 75, and she's the perfect person. They can get Andrew Weissman up there with Nicole Wallace and make them the face defending this lawfare.
Well, Weissman's different. Weissman's different. He's a bad guy. She's just an innocent victim. She didn't know what she was doing when she was selling the Iraq War, right? As weapons of mass destruction. They're now very focused on you, Mike. So watch out. They're rolling hard. They see they're going to Alinsky you. I can tell that already, because now they're freaked out. They're freaked out because of Brennan. Brennan really made this real for them today in a way that the appetizer for Comey did not, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Comey was their useful idiot, right? And they found him no longer useful, right? With Brennan, he's actually one of the key operators behind all of this. And the Brennan ties directly to Obama, and I think that's what they fear, right? So, look, I'm not confirming or denying anything. I would say this, that I think that NBC and these other outlets are over-reporting what I said. I never said that this special grand jury that's set up in Fort Pierce for January is investigating Crossfire Hurricane. I said I had been pushing very, very, very hard for that to happen for over 3 years, and I'll continue to push very hard for that to happen. I would say to Andrew Weissman, when he's throwing out Rule 60 on grand jury, because he says that how would Mike Davis know about this grand jury? I would tell Andrew Weissman you should probably go look at the court's public docket, because the order's on the court's public docket, you clown. So, maybe he had, too many strawberry daiquiris for lunch again today, but, or, with his umbrellas. But no, Andrew, sorry, buddy. It's a public document, so shove 60 right up your ass. But anyway, so justice is definitely coming for these lawfare Democrats. They laughed about this before the election. They mocked us for 3 years. Let's see how much Andrew Weissman's snickering over the next 3 years when justice is being delivered.
Mike, MSNBC is being turfed out of 30 Rock. They're leaving the building. They're sending them over to 43rd Street near Times Square. They're taking the name away, and I can tell you the guys at NBC just want to be done with it. And they realize, I think, huge investigation is going to come in. And the media part of this, Mike, as you know, was one of the strongest elements they had, because every night they were leaking. You got Ken Delanian, the spokesman for the FBI. You got, Weissman, the spokesman for the cabal. Every night they drove this with Rachel Maddow. They put out false information from Shifty Schiff. They lied. They knew they were lying. So MSNBC or MS Now, whatever you're going to be next week, you guys are up to your eyeballs in this thing, and don't think people don't know that. We've been talking about this and working behind the scenes for a long time on this one. Mike Davis, your thoughts?
Well, I would say this. Remember that 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights, is a very powerful criminal statute. It was passed after the Civil War to take down the Klan. Jack Smith, at the urging of Andrew Weissman and others, used conspiracy against rights to go after President Trump, his top aides, his supporters, to take out MAGA. So they're going to get a healthy dose of their own medicine on 18 U.S.C. Section 241, conspiracy against rights. I call this the dead chicken strategy. If they want to, if the War Room Posse wants to Google that. And it could go after lawyers, it can go after reporters, it can go after judges. Anyone who conspires to violate the civil rights, the constitutional rights of Americans is subject to 18 U.S.C. Section 241, including reporters at MSNBC.
Mike, you're doing some great writing all around, but I want people to go to Article 3 to get all of it, and also your social media. Where do they go? Article3project.org, article number 3project.org. You can follow us on social media, donate, but only what you can afford. But the War Room Posse's superpower is action, action, action. And our action item for the next 3 years is to put these lawfare Democrats, especially Andrew Weissman, in prison for conspiracy against rights. The Viceroy, thank you very much, Mike. I know you're busy today. Thanks for joining us by phone. Appreciate you always.
Thank you, sir.